Hello everyone, my name is Angelica and welcome to my channel. I haven't done any macrame project for a while, so today I'm coming to you with two new projects. This time I will be creating baskets, something what will help you organize your small items around the house. I've done many macrame projects on this channel, but if you haven't seen them yet, I created separate playlists with all of them. I will leave the link to it down below. And if you're new to macrame or you just want to refresh the knowledge, I highly recommend my other video where I teach the basic macrame knots and also share a few tips and tricks when it comes to work with macrame cord. All the links are down below. In this video, I won't go deeply into each knot and explain it. That's why I recommend checking out the other videos as well. And now, without any further ado, let's get right into the first basket project. For my first project, I will be using 3mm thick macrame cord. I've already cut all the pieces I need, which measurements are. I start with my longest piece, the 600 centimeters one. I fold it in half and then measure 52 centimeters away from its loop. I hold this spot and then add loop to it. I fold the rest of the cord around this spot. Now I have 4 cords all together and I can easily create square knot. 2 middle ones stay untouched and I only wrap 2 loose cords around it. At first it is quite tricky as I have to hold it in a few different places, plus the cords are super long. But once they become shorter, the process is much easier. This will be a top edge of my basket and 52 centimeters will be the total circuit of it. I continue with the square knots all the way around. Once I reach the end, I take my crochet hook and I pull the ends through the previous knots. This way it will stay all secured. The basket trim is ready. Now it's time to create the walls. I take 28 pieces of cord, which are 170 centimeters long, and add them to the trim. I pull it through and fold in half. I add 2 cords next to each other, then 2 knots gap and again 2 new cords. The basket's design will contain triangle shapes, and to create them, I will be using alternating double half hitch knot. I make double half hitch knot one way, then I change the direction and then get back to the first way. Sometimes with macrame it's much easier to understand all steps just by watching it. Words can make it more complicated than it really is. Then I take the cord which is more away from the previous one and repeat the process. I connect these two parts with double half hitch knot and create the triangle shape. I repeat the process all the way my trim, and each time I connect the cords which have two square knots gap between them. This pattern creates very unique texture and design, like also make the construction a bit stronger. Once the first row is ready, I'm moving level lower. I take two loose cords from adjacent triangles and create a new one using alternating double half hitch knot. I try to follow same pattern for each triangle and always start from the same side. Altogether, I've created 4 rows, and this will be a height of my basket. To create the bottom trim, I take 80 centimeters long piece of cord and wrap all the loose cords around it. And to do it, I'm using double half hitch knot, one by one. When I notice that next cord is quite far away, to add it next to the other ones, I take one of the 60 centimeters long piece and fill the gap with it. To attach it, I'm creating lark's head knot. Then I continue with the cords from the design. Every time I see the gap, I add extra piece of cord. Once the trim is ready, I move to creating the bottom for my basket. To connect all these loose cords together, first of all I have to divide them into 4 sections. And because I want this basket to be more of the rectangle shape, 2 opposite edges will be slightly larger than the other 2. So for me, it came out to have 24 loose cords on one edge and 32 on the other. Working with one section at a time, I create the big triangle shape out of the square knots. First, I create one row of square knots. Moving level lower, I create a new row of square knots, but this time it's shorter and made out of cords from adjacent knots. The edge with 24 cords has the triangle shape done all the way down. The edge with 32 cords has to finish at the same level as the other one, which is 6 rows of square knots. I turn the basket inside out and start closing the bottom. Once you fold all 4 triangles together, they create nice rectangle shape, and in this case bottom of the basket. I take one cord from each side and tie it twice together. I pull it quite hard, making sure there won't be any gaps and holes at the bottom. Once it's all nicely tied, I take transparent glue and add few drops of it onto the knots. This way it will all stay more secured. I cut off the excess cord and repeat the process with other 3 parts. Now I just have this big hole in the middle of my basket. Of course, I have to cover it if I want to put some stuff inside. I take 2 the longest cords and start wrapping the shorter ones around it. I create square knots which I pull quite hard to tighten. I turn the basket again back to its right side. To give it more detail and make it more unique, I will add some handles. Now I have only 2 cords left, each one 150 centimeters long. I find the right place for the handle and pull the string through it. I pull the string which is already folded in half. I pull the loose cord through the loop, making the knot, and then move the cord few centimeters away, and then also I pull through the basket. The handle is about 13 centimeters long. Very similar pattern to the one I've used to create the top trim. I wrap the long loose cords around by creating square knots. With the excess rope, I pull it through the knot and cut off. For my next basket, I will use this tin as my mold. This time, and I think also for the first time, I will be using a braided macrame cord. It seems to be much softer and I just want to try it out. But you can really use any type of cord or rope. I start with measuring the length around my tin. Everyone is going to have different size of the tin, so I won't give you the exact measurements. You will adjust them to your mold size. I leave few centimeters extra to be able to tie it later. To measure how long you need individual pieces to be to create this design, measure the length of your tin or how much you want to cover it. And then multiply this number with 12. In my case, each piece was 168 centimeters long. I take the first piece of cord and lie it down flat. Now it's time to attach all the other cords to it. And to do it, I'm creating square knots. Remember to always start each knot from the same side. I attach each cord one by one, close to each other, till the cord is almost fully covered. I tidy them up and move on to my tin. Make sure that the amount of the knots is even. In my case, it's 42 knots. I take 4 loose cords from 2 knots and create square knot. This pattern is very repetitive. Once you master your square knot, it will all go smooth. I wouldn't say quick, as it really takes a long time, but you can almost do it with your eyes shut. I create first row of square knots all the way around. Moving row lower, I take 2 cords from adjacent knots and create new square knot. I basically create new knot between the previous 2. I follow the design till my tin is fully covered. Once I reach the bottom, I have to divide all knots into 3 sections, but I also have to leave 3 knots loose. 13 knots, 1 spare, and 30 knots again. Very similar process to the previous project. The only difference is that circle only needs 3 triangles to be covered with. So with all 13 knots from one section, I create the triangle shape. Once they are done, I have to connect them. That's why I've left these 2 loose cords between each triangle. I'll hold these 2 cords down and wrap other ones around it, one by one, going all the way down. I cut off the excess cord. Glue it for extra security and turn it inside out. With the square knots, it's good that they look exactly the same even after turning it inside out. Let me know in the comment section what other macrame projects would you like to see on my channel. I've done many of them, but I know there is still plenty to try out. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to my channel for more ideas. We've just hit 30,000 subscribers, so I want to thank you all for your continuing support. That I'm really happy that you like my videos and coming back every day. So thank you so much for watching, your support, and I will see you in my next video.